What's up, guys? So we created Facebook OAuth login and we are given back. If we pop back over here to terminal, this is what the data looks like. But how do we actually create a user from this? How should we store it in the database? That's what we're going to be answering today. I'm using a PostgreSQL database, so I'm going to be using SQLize to do this, but it's going to be very similar if you use a different database. You can use the same concepts. So this is the data we have working with us, and let's get to it. So first thing we're going to do is set up our database to handle it. So I'm going to be setting up some foreign keys. Just wanted to show you guys this is the syntax for setting up foreign keys right here. Using belongs to, and then you use your two models that you want to relate, and then here you specify the name you want. If you don't know what foreign keys are, also another name is one-to-one. We're basically saying that, this makes pretty good sense. A user is a part of a company, belongs to a company. So we're going to be doing that. And so we're going to abstract our user model a little bit. Because now there's two ways to log in, right? We can log in with Facebook or we can log in with an email or password. So what we're going to do is actually create two different models. So yeah, I'm going to be working in the models folder primarily, and if you want to follow along, I have starter code below with this server so you can do the same thing I'm doing. So we have models here. What I want to do is create two things, a Facebook, and we'll call it FB for short, Facebook credentials. I don't know how I want to spell this. I think I'm going to camel case it, but the table name won't. Facebook credentials. We'll say Facebook auth. Yeah, let's do it like that. FB auth, and then we create another model called local auth. Now local auth standing for using a user or an email and password, and Facebook auth login through Facebook. And then our user model is no longer going to have an email and a password. It is also, okay, good. I think username is nullable. We're about to find out if we get an error. We might need to make username. I think by default it's nullable, but it might not be. But anyway, we're gonna move. So I'm gonna copy user, move it over to local auth. So now local auth here. Both of these are JS files. All right, so my local auth here, we're going to call it local auth, and the table is going to be called local auth. I should have been doing this. I haven't been doing this. You want to use snake case for Postgres. So here is just going to have an email and a password, and then we're going to associate local auth with user. So we're going to say local auth dot belongs to models dot user, and then we're going to store a foreign key, and we're going to call it user ID, and then we're going to return our local auth. So local auth here is going to store the email and password, and it's going to link to a user. So our user over here is then still going to have these relationships, but it no longer needs to have email and password. So now for our Facebook login, it's going to be similar to local auth. We want to set up Facebook auth. I don't know if I should lowercase it. That looks kind of weird. Naming here, I'm not sure how I want to name this. I guess this is fine. No, I'm going to do it like this, even though it's a little weird. I don't like triple uppercase. Okay, and then I'm going to name it here FB auth. This is the database table name. And then here, what do we want to store? Definitely FB ID, so the Facebook ID that they give us. So So I scroll up here. Yep. So I want to store this username, display name. Say username and display name. We don't care about this other stuff. Also for me, I'm testing this. I don't even have a username, so I'm just gonna store a display name. But you can do more fields if you like to. So display name, and we're gonna call this thing a string, sure. And this is going to be, okay, so they store it as a string too. We can store it as a string as well. And we do data types dot string, and then unique. We don't want to do a unique check, so we can actually just do this. And then here, fbauth, fbauth, fbauth. Okay, so we're gonna save the ID in the display name, and then we set up relationship to a user, and that's gonna have the user ID. So that's pretty good. Our database is set up, good to go. Now over here, what we want to do, we need to create this as an async function because we're going to be doing some async-y things. So first thing we want to do is we want to create a user account here. So we're going to say models.user.create. And we're going to pass in an empty object. I want to pass in an empty object. I think I could do it just like this. So we don't have any of the fields filled out. So we don't know if they're an admin, and we don't know if they can have a username. Like we shouldn't imply their username from Facebook. We could, like for example, we could grab their username from Facebook if they have one. I don't have one. So you could do it that way if you want to do like a little check and say const username and grab that from the profile. And we're going to grab the ID, the username, and the display name. So we can say if display name, username, you can pass in the username here, but I'm not going to worry about that because I don't have a username. Okay, so we're just going to create, I might have to pass in an empty object like that, I don't know. I'm just going to try creating it like this and see if it lets us create a user, okay? Then what we want to do, and oh, by the way, we actually shouldn't create a user right away if this is the second time. If this is the first time they're logging in. So let's write a little comment about this. There's two cases. Case number one. So number one, what could happen is first time login. And then there's second case, other times. So in case one, there's their first time logging in. We actually need to create a user for them, right? But if it's not their first time, we don't need to create a user for them. We just log them in, right? So in this case, we need to know whether if they are a user, if this is their first time logging in. And the way we do that is we're creating this Facebook login, right? So we actually first want to check if this ID is already in our database. So we're gonna say const Facebook user is going to be await models dot Facebook user, which is Facebook auth. And we want to do find, we just want to find one. I think there's there's like a get possibly where you just get one. If not, we can just limit it to one. Yeah, let's just limit it to one. I can do limit one. So we're looking for one where Facebook ID is equal to ID. Okay, so we're going to look for a Facebook auth in our Facebook auth model. We're going to try to find the user. We're only going to get one. And then we're going to say, let's console.log Facebook user and see what we get. I think we should get an array because we're using find all, but we might not. So we're going to say if Facebook user dot length. If that exists, then don't create user, right? But we're going to do not. So we're only going to create the user if it doesn't exist. So this is, if we can't find the user here, so what we should, I'm not sure if we should check, I'm not sure if what this is going to return if there's not any users in the database. Like if there's no Facebook user that we find, I think it might be an empty array that we get. We'll have to see. So, but if the Facebook length of the user length, I guess we should say Facebook users here. That'll make more sense. So Facebook users, even though we're only finding one, check the length. If it's 0, then we need to add a user. And so we create a user, then we also need to create a Facebook user, right? So FB user, there's going to be a wait models.facebookauth.create. And here we're going to say Facebook ID is equal to ID. Excuse me, and display name is equal to display name. And real quick, what I forgot to do is just import these into my index. So it's important to, this is how my SQLized setup works, is I just need to import FB auth and local auth. Local auth. FB auth. Okay. Coming back to index over here. And this looks pretty good. So we only really need to store stuff in the database, create it, if we don't find it. All right, I think this looks pretty good. So first, just walk through this one more time. We are given this data here. We check if IRA stored this guy in the database before by looking for his ID. If we don't find any users of that length, well, not users of that length, if find all returns an empty array, then we know it's not in the database. So we create a user. We create a Facebook user, and we also need to pass in user ID here. And we should be doing a user ID like this. And I'll show you guys also at the end of this video why I'm doing snake case too. So I should use snake case here. And for local auth too. I'm going to start using snake case more in everything. So the user ID is going to be user.id. This should be lowercase u. All right, and then that's pretty good. So we create that user in the database, and here we can, this thing doesn't really matter, this callback, we could even put in empty. Yeah, we should actually just do empty for now. This is if you're using sessions. If you're using sessions, you'd want to put this callback and pass in your Facebook user. But we don't have to worry about that because I'm not using sessions. Let's put these console logs together. And since we don't actually need to do anything with this user, we'll just get rid of that. All right, so let's give this a try now and see if everything works. So, oh, and also before I do this, I actually need to drop the database. So let's go into PSQL real quick. Drop database test GraphQL DB. And the reason I'm dropping the database is because we did database changes. So whenever you do that, at least with SQLized, you need to either do migrations, which make you do them yourself, or what I find faster is to drop the database and restart it. All right, so I'm going to go here. What we expect to happen is for a user to be created. just straight nothing. So if we come over here, I didn't close ngrok, so I still have it up so we can run it. Page just not found. Oh, it should be flogin. I'm not sure why I did this other one. Set auth said it was good. We come back over here. Cool, it was an empty object, and we can see SQLize prints out the commands. We can see we created a new user. It worked out okay, and we inserted a new user into our Facebook login. And just to prove it to you guys, if we go into PSQL, I can connect to my database, test GraphQL DB, select all from Facebook auths, and we can see me added here. So cool. So that's how I like to store it in the database. And that's it for this video. I'm going to go over 2 extra things I want to talk about, but these are totally not necessary. The first is environment variables, these things. I should be storing environment variables, and then why I'm starting to use snake case. So first snake case, but feel free, you can, we're done with OAuth for now. I just want to go over 2 quick things. Snake case, look at this. This has quotation marks around it, and the reason for that is uppercase. Whenever you use an uppercase letter in Postgres, it adds quotes marks to it, and that's super ugly. So that's why I use snake case, and that's pretty much it. So now I could do select all from Facebook auths, where if I had done uppercase, I would have to do something like that, right? So using snake case for tables, properties now. All right, cool. So that covers that, and then I want to talk about storing keys. I put this into GitHub knowing as when this video is out, it's already, these keys are going to be invalid, but you should never do it like this. And I'm going to show you what you should do instead. What you should do is do process.env client ID, Facebook client ID, and store these as environment variables. So what I can do is I can copy these to my clipboard, come over here and do export Facebook client ID. And set that equal to this number. That being the number right here. And so I don't have to actually have this hard coded. I now just grab it from the process, which I'm putting here. And now this is not getting stored on GitHub, right? So then now you're not exposing your keys. This is very important so your keys don't get exposed, because people can hack your account and do stuff with it. So we're going to do the same thing here. Facebook secret ID. And I'm just going to copy that. And then we're going to do Facebook secret ID. Alright, so now it's going to grab those values, and just to show you guys, we can rerun this and make sure we don't get any errors, just to make sure I did everything right. But that's a good way to store any kind of secret passwords you don't want. And we should be doing this for the secret here, but this doesn't matter as much because this is just garbage right now. So now if I come here, I can go to flogin, and we get auth was good. And if we come here, hey look, we actually see the user that we got. And we see display name Ben, and we pulled this from the database. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope that was helpful, how I like to store this in the database. Next, I'm going to show you how the heck do you do this. Like, I've created a backend for this, right? How am I actually going to log in with Facebook using, I don't know, maybe say a React front end. So with Next.js I'm going to use, I have a little, going to go off of that and show you how you can log in using Facebook, using this server that we have set up here. So I'll see you guys then.